everybody, Miss GoElectric here, and I have another e-bike review coming at you. This is the Washington-based Propella 7S version 4.0 e-bike, and I'm gonna do an unboxing, assemble it, and review it. So let's get to it. Now, every other commuter-style e-bike that I've reviewed has had a front suspension. This one does not. But the unique thing about this is that it's about half of the weight of the other e-bikes I've reviewed, at 37 pounds. I haven't even seen this in person, and I think the design looks really nice, so I'm ready to see this and unbox it.
The Propella 7S is a Class 1 commuter e-bike, which means it has pedal assist only and can travel up to 20 miles per hour.
Unfortunately, this is becoming too common for my e-bike reviews, but we have another damaged box. It's a pretty significant hole, so hopefully it didn't damage anything inside. Well, it looks like all of the zip ties are connecting the things that might bounce around a lot. And there's extra padding down here in the really sensitive areas, like the derailleur and the brakes. We have a couple boxes in here. I'm assuming one's a charger, and we'll find out what the rest is, probably pedals. The other one is underneath the bike, so I'm gonna pull out the bike. You kind of have to be careful when you're lifting this out too, because you don't want to put your hands around the wires, the brake lines. But this is really lightweight, only 37 pounds. That's impressive. And here's that second box. We'll open up these first. First box is the seat and the seat post. This looks like a pretty basic saddle. I do like the design elements on it where it's running this really pretty blue color. Seems like this is their signature color because it's on all of their bikes, and you can see it around the wheels as well. We're gonna join the saddle and the seat post here in a moment. Let's open the second box. This contains my pedals, the quick release for the wheel, and the charger. This here is a 2-amp charger, and being that the battery is 250 watt-hours, this is gonna charge up in about 2.5 hours. All right, let's finish unpacking this bike. Zip tied to the frame of the bike is a multi-tool and the user manual. Now, with this user manual, there's a huge sticker on here that says that they really do recommend you getting this assembled at a bike shop by someone else. But there is an assembly instructions video right here that's linked. So you can just type that into your web browser and view that. It's a pretty simple assembly because this bike comes 85% assembled already. Also on the front of this user manual, it says to remove the battery before assembly. I find this is a good practice anyways while you're building the bike so that you can fully charge it as well. So let me get to that.
While I do that, let me tell you more about this bike. This aluminum frame can support riders between 5'4" and 6'1" comfortably. The 7S also supports up to 240 pounds of payload. You can expect anywhere from 20 to 40 miles of range, depending on what level of pedal assist you're cruising in.
Well, typically I like an e-bike that has an integrated battery into the frame because I like the sleek design. But I really do like this design as well because when you're looking at this bike, it looks very analog, and this comes off as a water bottle instead of a battery. One thing I think would be really cool is if they integrated some ports on here so I could charge up a device, so USB ports. Also, I think it would be neat if there was a speaker that was integrated on the bottom of one of these, just to make it more functional. Now, this is a really lightweight battery, and if they added something like that, I feel like it would be more enticing for people to buy an extra one. It's about 3.5 pounds and only $250 for an extra one. Let's plug this in and charge it up.
The 7S is listed at about $1,200. There's a 1-year warranty and 7-day return policy. It ships pretty quick with free delivery in about 3 to 5 days.
Now, when you're taking all this foam off, you gotta be really careful because the brake lines aren't integrated into the frame. So when you're cutting off some of these pieces of foam, you don't wanna cut those. The paint quality looks really good. I really like this matte finish on this bike. All right, now I'm gonna use this multi-tool that they sent with the bike to mount the handlebars. The front fork is spun around, so we'll move that first. And then we'll start to loosen up these bolts. All right, it looks like while I'm mounting these handlebars that the brakes, the computer, and the shifter all need to be rotated. So I'll get this mounted first, and then we'll adjust those. All right, I've mounted the wheel. Now let's insert the quick release. Make sure to put the spring on one side and the other spring on the other. All right, now that I have the wheel mounted, let's install these pedals. Now, one thing you're gonna notice is that right on this inner ring is the small little letter that indicates what side it's on. So L and right on each one. Well, they've already greased up these pedals, so they're really nice and easy to get in here and tighten up. All right, now I'm ready to install the saddle onto the seat post. So I need to use this multi-tool again, and underneath the bottom of the seat post, there's a hex bolt. Loosen that up. This will also give you the ability to adjust the pitch of the bike seat as well. A lot of other brands already have the saddle assembled onto the seat post, and I appreciate that because it's really quick and easy. It looks like this bike seat is tightened with a hex bolt back here. I do prefer a quick release so I don't have to utilize a tool every time I want to adjust the seat position. Now, the reason why they probably tell you to take it into a professional to assemble is because there are quite a few adjustments on this bike, for me at least, that I needed to make. So you might need to adjust the brake alignment and the tension here. So this is where you would adjust the ability to keep the rotor centered in between the brake calipers. And then this one here is the tensioner, so it's a rough tension for the brake line. So you see how loose this is? There's a lot of play here. It should be much tighter like the other side here. These here are CST puncture resistant tires, and they definitely need some inflating. So I'm gonna use my new Fantech X8 Apex. It's a battery powered portable tire inflator. This bike tire will take 50 to 70 PSI. I'm gonna set it at 50 and start inflating. So the Propella 7S version 4.0 e-bike is completely built and ready to ride. But you know me, I love versatility, and Propella sent me a bunch of their accessories that they sell. Now, starting off with the saddlebag here that mounts on the back of the seat post, we also have a rear rack. And they also sent along two lights. One is a headlamp and one is a rear tail lamp. These are rechargeable, so you can take them off. They're not integrated. Other thing to note is that Propella sells an accessory kit that includes all of these things except for one thing that I didn't get, which was a lock, and that's for $285. Looks like this is a really easy mounting system for this light. It's just a bungee that straps on and you're good to go. Well, with 4 simple bolts, it's very easy to mount this bike rack. All the accessories are on and we're ready to ride. First impressions wise, I will say I'm pretty impressed with the design, and I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about this bike in person because on the website, it didn't necessarily look like it would be premium, especially with the metallic finishes on the wheels, but I can say in person, it's really nice. I'm excited to try this out because, as you can see, there is no suspension on this bike, but it is very lightweight. So let's get out and start riding. I'm here in downtown Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Beautiful town here in the summertime. And I'm on my Propella 7S flagship e-bike. This is a commuter style e-bike, which is perfect for this use case scenario if you live in a city. And right now I'm just riding in my first pedal assist mode. This has 5 different pedal assist modes. And surprisingly enough, it feels like a decent amount of power just on this first mode. And I wasn't expecting much because, you know, this bike, it's really lightweight. It's 37 pounds and the motor is only a 250 watt motor. And that doesn't sound like much, but with how light it is and nimble, it actually feels like a lot of power. Now, this bike can also support up to 240 pounds of payload, even though it's 37 pounds. So I just think the balance of the weight versus the power it gives you is appropriate. Now, I'm gonna kick it up a notch to pedal assist 2, and I'm coming up to a hill here, not exerting too much energy, which is nice. Now you can see that this bike has a cadence sensor, and that's what's giving me power, no torque sensor. But what I like about this is that the cadence sensor is quite responsive, so I don't have to go, you know, a full rotation in order to get the power that I'm looking for. So the top speed of this bike is 18.5 miles per hour, which is fine for a class 1 e-bike. And it has a 7-speed Shimano gear set, which I like my Shimano gear sets. They've all been great for me. But the thing about that is if you're, you know, only have 7 gears and an 18.5 mile per hour top speed, depending on the scenario, you might want to have more gears to go a little bit faster and have more control. So that is something to consider. They do offer the 9S. I haven't reviewed that yet, but I could see how that would be valuable to have more gears on this bike. See how it's like a half rotation and then this instantly starts to give me power. I love how quick the power delivery is on this with that cadence sensor. This lady, brakes are good, that's for sure. This bike is supposed to get anywhere between 20 and 40 miles of range depending on what pedal assist mode you're in, how much work you're putting in with the motor. You know, if you do run out of battery, the nice thing is that you can just either buy another battery for a backup and put it in your bag, it's so lightweight, or pedal the bike as it is. It's a little heavier than a traditional bike, but it's doable. Another thing that I like about this bike that I wasn't expecting was the wheels and them being this metallic finish. It actually is really great for visibility as well. It acts like a reflector, so when it starts to get dark out, I feel like that's a good safety feature. As you can see, I have my rechargeable headlamp and my tail lamp all set too, so I'm all about these types of accessories that help provide a safer experience when you're riding, especially in a kind of a chaotic city scenario. I would say my tires are fully inflated to about 60 PSI. The top range is 70. They're nice and stable. I do not feel like I'm gonna lose any kind of control. The one thing I will say is even going over some of these potholes, I would like a more comfortable saddle. I would be interested in possibly purchasing the one that Propella offers that is a suspension seat post. That way a lot of these bumps and cracks in the road are absorbed through that. All right, I'm going up a pretty steep hill and I'm at 17 miles per hour. So I think I could definitely easily up this hill hit 18 at top speed without traffic. So if you need to keep the pace at city speeds, I think this does the trick. That's just one of the things that I love about e-bikes is if you're trying to really use this as a commuter bike, trying to go to work and you don't want to work up a sweat, something like this is perfect. One of the things to be mindful of when you're buying an e-bike is, you know, is there a specific supplier for the motor, for the brakes, for the gear set? And one thing to note about this bike is that, yeah, you have a Shimano brake set, a Shimano gear set, you have a Bafang hub motor, and Samsung batteries. I think is a great advantage is having familiar, reliable products that if there is an issue, you could always get an easy replacement set. All right, I've been riding around here in Lake Geneva and I stopped to switch out my batteries and my cameras, and I met Dave here because Dave was inquisitive and thought, hey, that kind of maybe looks like an e-bike, but what were you thinking, Dave?
Well, I was thinking it was an electric bike. I wasn't sure. You came up the hill so fast. And we travel quite a bit, and we're first time here in Lake Geneva. And when we travel, we were looking at ways we could get around once we get to a town, and we were considering the electric bikes. It's nice to know you're a tester and you can try out all these different bikes. And this one looked pretty sleek and it caught my eye because actually it's tall, which would fit me. Exactly. And I like the fact that it looks sleek like a race bike. So I didn't realize this was, I thought that was a water bottle at first.
It does look like a water bottle, doesn't it? That's the battery. But the thing I like about this too is that it's super lightweight. So like you said, very sleek and sporty design. Well, now that I've ridden this bike all around Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, I will have to say that I'm very impressed and surprised because initially when I was looking at this bike, I thought maybe a 250 watt motor wouldn't be for me. Essentially, what I found is that I could definitely enjoy a bike like this, especially since it's only 37 pounds. And I can't say that enough, that the lightness really does make a huge effect. I also didn't consider that I could enjoy a bike that didn't have any suspension. And it's better than I thought, but I would still opt for a suspension seat post, and luckily Propella does sell one of those. This is a 250 watt-hour battery by Samsung, and I thought that might not be enough, but I've gone 11 miles, and I've been riding this pretty hard in pedal assist 5 up a lot of elevation, and it has about half the battery left. So I do think that the battery range is good for right in that sweet spot, just above 20 miles if you're riding it hard like this. If you do have a longer commute, I would suggest probably getting an extra battery because it's only $250. It's lightweight and compact, just over 3 pounds, and I think that would be easy to bring with you. Typically, other e-bike batteries are a little too heavy and a little too pricey. For about $1,200, this is a pretty good value. I do like the fact that they sell a lot of accessories, so out the door, right around that $1,500 price tag, I would definitely recommend getting the saddle, the rear rack, and a couple of lights. Although I really prefer an integrated light on any e-bike for safety, I'm glad that they still have an option that's really easily removable. Well, that's all for this review of the Propella 7S version 4.0. If you're considering buying one of these, I hope you use the link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Until next time, drive, fly, ride. Go electric.